The topic of official artwork when it comes to Mii characters is something that, as far as I'm aware, has gone pretty undiscussed. I've hardly even heard anyone mention the topic in passing, and there's a fairly good reason for that. Pretty much all the game covers and promotional material that feature Miis just use their 3D models because, after all, why wouldn't you? It's the much easier option technically since the models already exist, not to mention the fact that third-party developers were also often restrained by some pretty strict guidelines when it came to showing Miis in promotional material. But to me, that's what makes this subject so interesting. It's not necessarily obscure in a way where the information is not accessible, it's just overlooked.
Basically, nobody cares.
But as someone who loves art and loves Mii characters, I wanted to look into it and share what I found. Today, I and my lovely co-host Mii Gunner are gonna take you on a tour through the gallery of official Mii art I've constructed here. I tried my best to locate every single drawing out there, but of course I'm only one person, and even after asking some of you guys, there's probably still some stuff I'm missing.
Furthermore, in this video the term official artwork will specifically be referring to illustrations, 3D rendered images, and the like are outside the scope of this video. Additionally, we're only covering official Nintendo related works, so this does not include fan art.
Also, just for fun, I tried to recreate some of these styles either by editing images or drawing them from scratch myself, so you'll probably see those around. Anyways, let's just start on the tour. I placed this one first since I'm gonna assume pretty much every Mii fan knows what Miitopia is, and the Mii illustrations in question are basically the first thing you see when starting the game, as the beginning cutscene meant to explain the basic idea of the game's villain is made with these 2D animated sprites. Honestly, I forgot this game even had a couple 2D scenes. I nearly left Miitopia out of this video entirely. It wasn't until Twitter user swordfighter SSBU sweetheart cherry blossom emoji sword emoji replied to my call for Mii artwork pointing out this usage that I remembered. I guess I probably forgot because, well, for one, I haven't seen the beginning of Miitopia in a hot minute, and there's just not a whole lot of stylistic change in this scene from how Miis usually look, other than, well, being 2D, obviously. As pointed out by Twitter user Mikan, there's also a Japanese advertisement for Miitopia, which includes some original illustrations of Miis inside this book thing. It's this really specific one-time usage artwork that I think is hardest to track down, especially when it's only used within a single region.
Super Smash Bros.
Miis were first introduced into the Super Smash Bros. Series in Super Smash Bros. 4. Unfortunately, however, they did not receive much official artwork. In fact, I thought there was none until Twitter user Elizzy Angelina pointed out to me this promotional image for Ryu in Smash, drawn by Akira Yasuda, which features all three Mii fighters way in the far right corner. As far as I know, this is the only official illustration of the Smash 4 Mii fighters.
Huh, that's not fair.
Luckily, Super Smash Bros. Ultimate would be a bit more liberal with their Mii inclusion, each of the Ultimate Mii fighters getting a generous 2 illustrations, one from the Classic Mode mural and one from the Everyone is Here mural. About the Classic mural, Sakurai said in an interview with Famitsu,
"A few members of the staff worked on it, offering up a stylistic caricature while maintaining the integrity of the design, all the while fine-tuning their work."
So the mural wasn't just made by a single artist, but was more of a collaborative effort, as I suspect is the case with most of the illustrations in this video. The Everyone is Here mural, however, was mainly illustrated by a single artist, Yusuke Nakano. Since each character was drawn separately as their own standalone piece, these drawings are much more detailed. Though, I made a strange discovery while researching them. I noticed that all of the transparent images of Nakano's Mii swordfighter illustration were missing his right foot. Eventually, I traced the image back to the DeviantArt user 11ZM. Apparently, Nakano's Smash illustrations were never officially published as transparent images, so this single DeviantArt user is likely the source for most instances of these transparent versions of Nakano's illustrations online. As a consequence, there is no transparent version of the Mii swordfighter illustration with his foot intact since 11ZM's edits lack this. Until now. While we're still talking about Smash, I'd also like to mention some concept sketches shown off in an episode of Sakurai on creating games. These were the concepts for the Mii Fighter maid costume. Although the Mii's faces here lack a bit of detail, they're still cute drawings, and hey, technically the only other cameo from my girl's Smash for Mii Gunner, even if it's just her head haphazardly pasted onto a sketch.
Tomodachi Collection.
It's easy to miss that the tiny little Miis on the cover of Tomodachi Collection are not sprites from the game, but rather unique illustrations. However, this becomes much more clear when you see them scaled up in places like the game's manual, other guidebooks, and merch, etc. They're very unique in the way they replicate the low-poly style of the game. They often look slightly wonky, facial features are pasted onto the head with little regard for perspective, mouth shapes and face parts are often slightly inaccurate. I think it kinda adds to their weird charm though. I don't know, they're just funny. Here's some slightly more obscure illustrations made specifically for this promotional pamphlet. There's a section within this pamphlet full of user-submitted stories about experiences they had playing Tomodachi Collection, some of which are accompanied by these illustrations. I only own one of these pamphlets, but there were at least 2 variations which may have had different illustrations. Also, I didn't even write this in my script, but I also remembered that in an interview about Tomodachi Life Living the Dream, they mentioned how the cel-shaded style was inspired by these illustrations from Tomodachi Collection.
Swapnote/Swapdoodle.
Another one most people are probably at least somewhat aware of is Nikki from Swapnote/Swapdoodle. It's a bit dubious as to whether or not this totally counts, since her design in illustrations differs a bit from her Mii form, but some stuff like this drawing of her in Smash as a Mii Gunner pretty directly imply her to be a Mii, even in her illustrated form, so I'm just gonna say it counts. In which case, Nikki would probably be the Mii character with the most official artwork out of any of them. Although this is pretty fitting since her games mostly revolve around drawing, or, well, doodling.
Big Brain Academy, we degree.
The game Big Brain Academy We Degree uses Mii illustrations on the box art as well as in occasional promotional material / merch. Although, as you can probably imagine, the game didn't get a whole lot, other than this extremely rare drinking glass. The art here is utilized in a very similar way to Tomodachi Collection, primarily just used for the box art, and the drawings themselves take heavy inspiration from how the characters are stylized in-game. Though, in the case of Big Brain Academy, they decided to make the colors generally a bit softer and use these smooth colored outlines which give the illustrations a very clean look. The simple style and use of pastels almost reminds me of other brands like Sanrio or SanX. Honestly, I wish Miis were drawn like this more often. It's very aesthetically pleasing.
Mario Kart, Bowser's Challenge, Nintendo World Hollywood.
Alright, this one might be the most random of any of the main sections. There's this specific ride at Nintendo World Hollywood, which requires riders to get into these go-karts and put on an AR headset. In order to show riders how to properly equip this headset, they made this sort of guide video using Miis to demonstrate the actions. Kinda neat they chose to use pre-existing CPU Miis rather than just random ones. As for the style, they pretty much just look like normal Miis but in 2D with some added line art. I think they were just trying to match the style of the Mario artwork shown earlier in the video. This is also a rare case of Miis not only being drawn, but animated in 2D, even if it's just some basic rigged animation, kinda similar to how they did it in Miitopia. Although the real notable departure from the norm here is that the Miis have ears, which wasn't really much of a thing before Tomodachi Life Living the Dream, and no, I'm not counting the early development Miis. Obviously there's a practical reason why they have ears here. Since they have to demonstrate how to wear the headset, it wouldn't exactly make sense without them.
Walk with me / personal trainer walking.
The usage of Mii artwork in Walk With Me or Personal Trainer Walking, depending on region, falls into a very similar category as Tomodachi Collection and Big Brain Academy We Degree. The illustrated Miis are primarily used for the box art and promotional material. The style is very similar to how the Tomodachi Collection Miis are drawn, however they don't try to emulate the low poly art style as much, making them look a little bit more like Miis did on the Wii, but with the slightly more lanky bodies reflecting how they look in this game. The game is pretty obscure, so other than the official website and this single calendar page, these drawings are mostly pretty confined to just being used as box art.
Dylan's Dead Heat Breakers.
Dylan's Dead Heat Breakers is by far the most unique, not only because of the style itself, but also just because, well, name another game that turns Miis into furries. Aside from the obvious design changes of the Mii characters, this style's most distinctive features are the thick, sketchy line art and the high contrast crosshatch shadows, a stylistic choice notably not present in previous entries in the Dylan series. It almost gives it a bit of a comic book appearance. The style definitely feels appropriately gritty for the new post-apocalyptic setting this game introduces. The art of the first two games had a much softer style in comparison, although I won't go in depth on those since neither game actually featured Miis at all. Dylan's Dead Heat Breakers released on the 3DS in 2018 after the Switch came out, so probably like nobody played it.
We welcome you / Carsas by Nintendo Wii.
Alright, so this particular set of illustrations has been used in at least 2 places, maybe more, but that's all I could find. One being this promotional booklet for the Wii, and another being this Brazilian TV advertisement from the store Casas By for the Wii. For the sake of the video, I went ahead and picked up a copy of this book so I can show you all of the illustrations inside. And what a treat, these are definitely unique. What jumped out at me the most is how the Mii's fingers are just a bit longer than it feels like they should be, which I think heavily contributes to the ever so slightly uneasy feeling these illustrations evoke. I guess these drawings were made in some sort of vector illustration program. They kinda resemble an old Flash cartoon or something. I mean, hell, there's a non-zero chance the Casas By advertisement was made in Flash, but the only recording I could find was pretty low resolution, so it's not like you can really tell. Upon actually seeing the booklet in person, I was shocked at how purple some of the Mii's skin tones were. They've added more options over the years, but especially on the Wii, pretty much all the Mii's skin options leaned pretty heavily into warm tones. But the hue and saturation here looks closer to the bloated corpse in my crawl space than anything the Mii maker had at the time. Well, I digress. This is certainly one of the more unique art styles, and definitely a product of its time. I don't know if this kinda off-model artwork would pass by Nintendo's standards today.
Me patent art.
Okay, here's a category I can practically guarantee has at least one drawing, if not all, that you haven't seen before. Legal patent art. Yes, artwork originating from legal patents filed by Nintendo made to demonstrate whatever function was being described. Nintendo has filed literally tens of thousands of patents, so it's practically impossible to look through all of them, but I gathered a reasonable sample of art just from a couple hours of digging through Google Patents. The only patent, at least from the ones I dug up, that directly had to do with the Mii characters themselves was this one for the Mii QR code function. The others just kind of incidentally used Mii characters because they involved features from games that included them. Like this one for what I think is a mechanic in Wii Sports Boxing. Listen, I don't speak legal jargon, so I'm not entirely sure what all this is saying. Some of these are kind of stretches to even call me art. Like, sure, these certainly ended up being me's in the game this patent is likely referring to, but like, do these really look like me's to you? Honestly, some of these patents are just completely incomprehensible to me, but the images are pretty funny out of context, although that's something patent art is kind of infamous for. Now, clearly the art here isn't really made for aesthetic purposes, so it would be pretty unfair to judge it based on that metric, but I just think it's funny and unique enough it was worth bringing up.
So, that covers all of the main categories.
But we still have a few more small-scale inclusions which are worth mentioning, since we're trying to be as comprehensive as possible here. Mostly, this category is just comprised of random artwork only seen once or twice, or things that teeter on even being considered me art. There's a couple of pieces of splash art from Pikmin Bloom which show the players, although it's not really clear whether these are meant to be the literal me player characters from the game, or if they're more intended to represent real-life people playing the game. I could only find 2 pieces which feature players, however, there could be more. There isn't really a comprehensive archive for all the splash art in Pikmin Bloom. Okay, honestly, this one maybe could have been its own section, but I kinda added it at the last minute, so whatever. Nintendo had a bunch of these little Miiverse drawings, some of which featured Miis, that would display in Wara Wara Plaza when the Wii U was offline in place of user-generated posts, meaning you can still see them on the Wii U home menu today, even without Miiverse. Finally, a reason to turn on my Wii U. Thank you Twitter user Wart/LB for reminding me of this usage. This guidebook for Tomodachi Life includes some illustrations, however, again, they're mostly depicting Tomodachi Life players. They aren't necessarily me's most of the time. Oh, okay, man, I think you're a little too into those Tomodachi Life screenshots. This Tomodachi Life magazine actually includes an entire 4-page one-shot about Tomodachi Life. However, again, this is about someone playing the game, none of the me characters are actually drawn. The story starts off with this girl telling her friends about how her and her crush got married in Tomodachi Life. Then out of the blue, her crush walks up to them, asks about the game, they talk about how awesome Tomodachi Life is, and basically that's it. Some me concept art has been shown in a few of these Nintendo company guidebooks, like this one from 2009 showing some me's in Mario Kart Wii, or this one from 2014 with sketches of the me's in Nintendo Land. A lot of these company guides are rather hard to track down, so I have no idea if there's any more instances of me art in them, although I really wouldn't be surprised if there was, considering there's books from 2006, 2007, 2008, etc., which I imagine probably include at least some mention of the Wii series, but alas, there's not much info on them. For the first anniversary of Miitomo, Nintendo hosted a contest where users could submit outfit designs, and the winner would have their design added as an item in the game. As an example, they included this illustration. It's not exactly trying to emulate the Mii style super closely, or really at all, but technically it's kind of a Mii since it's Miitomo. A one-shot manga based off the Densetsu no Starfy, or the legendary Starfy game series called Densetsu no Starfy R, was released in Japan in 2008. In chapter 7 of said manga, there is a story in which the main characters play Wii Sports. In some panels, you can see the Miis from the game, although it's never really shown in much detail. In the U and Wii Everything You Need to Know guidebook, they have these stickers which you can use to build a Mii. They're extremely limited, it's only like 1 page, but I guess it kinda counts. I mean, I don't know if these are necessarily drawn from scratch. I feel like it's more likely they just traced the 3D models or something, but still worth mentioning because it's just kinda interesting.
Well, it looks like we've reached the end.
Yep, that's everything I could find. I hope you enjoyed this little exhibit, and if you want to see more cool me stuff, check out my website or any of my other videos. Oh, and if you like a me art, you should look at my me art or buy some. Wow, so cute. Okay, anyways, I'm done yapping. Bye.
Bye-bye.